When it comes to committing crimes, most often it's not just a single serial psychopath. There are so many incidents where a group of people as a gang have done things, including first grade and second grade murders. Things get nasty and worse in crimes when multiple people are involved at once. Here are some of the most wanted gang members reacting to life sentences for the insane felonies they committed. Number 5. Abel Gallegos, Alonso Quintana, and Rene Francisco Rosales. Abel Gallegos appeared in Jefferson County District Court on Friday and was given a sentence of 163 years plus life in prison without a chance of release for his part in the kidnapping and murder of 28-year-old Simon Duran. Gallegos and two other people, Alonso Quintana and Rene Francisco Rosales, were convicted guilty on a number of counts for their involvement in retaliation murder. 28-year-old Alonso Quintana was also given a life sentence plus 160 years. Quintana was found guilty of multiple offenses, including first-degree murder, murder conspiracy, second-degree kidnapping, aggravated intimidation of a witness, retaliation against a witness, interfering with a dead body, tampering with evidence, and others. Even Rosales had similar charges and was sentenced to life in prison for about 150 years. Ever since Duran identified Quintana in a lineup in an attempted murder investigation, she became a big target for Gallegos, Quintana, and Rosales, and they decided to hunt her down. According to the authorities, Duran was lured, taken hostage, shot 10 times while pleading for her life, and then set on fire on November 5, 2018. Duran, Gallegos, and Rosales left the house together. However, Rosales didn't stay with them and went home instead. During this time, Gallegos kidnapped and drove Duran to a parking lot on West Colfax and Kipling, where they met up with Quintana. Duran was beaten and held captive in a car's backseat by Quintana and Gallegos. Quintana and Gallegos then took her to a hidden, isolated area between 7th and Nile and Golden, where they shot her 10 times. Later, Gallegos and Rosales went to the place of her death to douse her body in gasoline and set it ablaze. Gallegos has 6 felonies on his record and 8 parole or probation revocations. Judge Philip McNulty, who oversaw the case's sentencing, expressed his outrage at the casualties with which this murder was committed and the contempt for human life. Judge McNulty remarked. Number 4. Carpio brothers. According to the Los Angeles County District's Attorney's Office, 2 brothers were sentenced on January 15 for the murder of an 18-year-old male at Cleveland High School in Reseda. The 2 brothers, Anthony Carpio, 18, received a sentence of 16 years to life in state prison, and Michael Stephen Carpio, 20, received a sentence of 15 years to life. The 2 brothers were part of a street gang. On October 31st, they were each convicted responsible for the second-degree murder of Kevin Orellana, an 18-year-old who was not a member of a gang. Orellana was playing handball at Grover Cleveland High School when the brothers approached him, according to the prosecutor. According to testimony in court, the defendants issued a gang challenge and a fight followed. Orellana was then stabbed to death by the 2 brothers. According to witnesses, Orellana was stabbed by Anthony Carpio during the altercation. The brothers then sprinted and rushed to a car and escaped from the crime scene. Michelle Pineda, a third co-defendant, and was also given a sentence of 2 years in county jail for being part of the gang, though he was found not guilty. A victim impact statement created by Orellana's family was shown to the brothers. Their father, Marcus, said. However, the 2 brothers won't be out for parole at least until 6 years. Number 3. The Atlanta gang members. 33-year-old Christopher Dean was at the verge of turning his life all around and being a good father to his young boys. However, there was one more last drug deal he had to do to be able to turn clean, but he never got any chance to do so. That is when Dean received an invitation to the Gibson brothers' house from Xavier, 23, and Orlando, 30. He had no idea that accepting the invitation to the Atlanta home on Sandy Creek Drive would result in his demise. Christopher Dean was savagely assaulted with a 2x4 and a crowbar for more than an hour. By using a handle-like item, he was sodomized. He was then executed after being shot twice to the back of the head. His body was then placed at an Atlanta MARTA station in the trunk of a car, the district attorney mentioned. His wife mentioned. The district attorney for Fulton County, Paul Howard, stated that in his opinion, this crime represents the most horrific assault in our county's recent history. More than 2 years later, a jury found Lockett Gibson, 23, Cortez Clark, 21, and Rookson Green guilty of murder, participation in a criminal street gang, and other related felonies. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Gail S. Tuzin sentenced all 5 defendants to life in prison.
You know, to have your offspring leave the world before you do is a pretty sobering experience under any circumstances. I believe that completes what, yes, you can give that to Mr. Lockett. That completes the court sentencing in this case.
Number 2, the bizarre gang of 3. Robinson, Darius Diaz-Gaskin, and Kenneth Hill, all in their 20s and from Metro Detroit, were all given life sentences without the possibility of parole today after being found guilty of first-degree felony murder, armed robbery, and other charges in the March 2014 killing of Basil Sulaka inside the Moonlight Party store in Harper, which Sulaka had owned for almost 2 decades. A 4th defendant by the name of Clinton Grayson was also found out later and was given the same punishment as the other 3. Sulaka was working behind the counter when the 3 shooters stormed in at around 11 p.m. and demanded money. After they got what they wanted, the attackers shot Sulaka and fled the scene with a sum of money. The 3 young black men wore dark clothing, hats, and gloves, and also added on ski masks as to cover their faces. Detective Mayerl, who was behind the case, said Vivian Sulaka, Sulaka's sister, spoke to the court while occasionally glancing at the 3 men and said, Macomb County Circuit Court Judge Mary Shranowski told Robinson she was taken aback and was insulted by the way he talked to his sister, she claimed.
To the killers who murdered my brother in cold blood, I say this to you. You're an absolute disgrace to the human race. I hope that while you spend the rest of your life in prison, you actually reflect on the awful decisions you've made in your life. You have the blood of a loving father, husband, son, and brother on your hands.
And at number 1, gang leader George Jewell Thomas said convicted gang boss George Jewell after committing crimes while being behind bars. The gang leader was given a life term in prison for the murders and other crimes he planned along with 16 other defendants from inside the cell for crimes committed between 2006 and 2010, including homicide, conspiracy to commit homicide, and racketeering. All of the offenders were brought to trial under the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. Thomas will concurrently serve 7 life terms for the crimes he planned between 2006 and 2010 in prison. Judge Chantel Fortune stated that Thomas and his 16 goons displayed no remorse for intentionally and voluntarily carrying out attacks to terrorize the neighborhood. Thomas was found guilty of 7 counts of murder, 2 of racketeering, 3 of belonging to a criminal gang, 3 of conspiracy to commit a crime, 10 of inciting a crime, 3 of attempted murder, 1 of breaking and entering with intent to commit robbery, 3 of theft, and 11 of illegally possessing firearms and ammunition. It blows my mind to see how someone can do that many crimes and still not feel bad about it. Well, he now has to live in prison for a total of 175 years. Alrighty, that's all for today, folks. I'll see you next time.